Hello, my friends. It's Catherine Ewing here from Sacred Heart Alchemy and Divinely Inspired Feminine Leaders. I decided to jump on today to share one of my favorite tools, both for self-care and for use with my clients. It was actually developed by the Heart Math Institute. And if you have had a chance to watch my TED Talk, I actually do a short version of it in my TED Talk. It's a short exercise to begin with, but I really had to kind of shorten it up since we were time limited in our TED Talks. And there are a few reasons why I felt like sharing this evening. One is that I had gotten an email today from the Heart Math Institute about heart brain coherence and the connection between the brain in the head and the brain in our heart. And so it was sort of a reminder to me about the fact that we actually have three brains, right? We have the brain in our head, we have the brain in our heart, and we have a brain in our gut. And the brain in our heart actually developed before the brain in our head. It was one of the first clusters of nuclei and information to come into being when we first were in a fetus, as a fetus. So the brain in our heart actually shares more information with the brain in our head than the brain in our head shares with our heart. The heart shares all the sensory information, everything that we're taking in to through our senses really gets channeled through the heart, and then it goes up to the brain, and then the brain sort of decides, the head brain sort of decides what to do with it. So it really plays a very important part in our how we manage our thoughts, our emotions, our bodily sensations. And the other thing we know about it is that the energy field, the electrical energy field of the heart and the brain in the heart is 100,000 times as strong as the electrical energy field of the brain in our heads. And that the magnetic energy field of the brain in our heart is 5,000 times as strong as the magnetic energy field of the brain in our heads. So you can see how powerful the field is, both magnetically in terms of attracting things to us, right? So when we talk about the law of attraction and feeling into what it is that we want, you can see why it's much more powerful to feel into what we want than to just think about what we want. If this field is 5,000 times more magnetic and 100,000 times more electrical. So that's one reason why I decided to jump on today. The other is more personal, and I'm going to get a little vulnerable here. I was just feeling a need to connect with more people today, right? I'm usually home by myself, seeing clients. Kimberly, that looks like you. Hey, Dee. And I want to just share how spirit works and how fascinating it is, how the subconscious mind knows so much more than our conscious mind knows that we know. Does that make sense? We don't know what we know when it's in the unknown, when it's in the subconscious, right? So the last couple of days, I've just been feeling off, just not really myself. I'd been in a really good place. And, I just sort of chalked it up, to maybe the change in the weather. And I've been a little more tired and wasn't thinking very much of it. But yesterday, I found myself feeling like I wanted to cry, and in actually some cases, starting to cry multiple times during the day. And, I am a crier. I'll give you that. It doesn't take much, but usually it takes something, right? It's not just energy flowing up when I don't really have any idea what it is. But anyway, that was happening yesterday. And then last night, I sat down to watch The Voice. And so there's a trio. If you're a fan of The Voice, if you've been watching this season, I forget exactly what they call themselves, three somethings. But they're two brothers and a sister. And they sang a beautiful song from they tend to sing older music. And they sang a beautiful song from the band Kansas, which if you are of a certain age, you probably remember that name. You know, if you're under 40, maybe not, I don't know, or under 50. But there's a song called Dust in the Wind that Kansas sang that has a very tender place in my heart. And the reason for that is on the night when my mother passed away, 43 and a half years ago now, when I left the hospital and got in my car to start to drive home and turned the radio on, the song Dust in the Wind came on the radio, which, you know, was a very apropos song in that moment. All we are is dust in the wind, right? And that song, every time for years, every time I heard that song, you know, I would cry, I would get very emotional. And then, you know, time went by and the song isn't played all that frequently anymore. And so, you know, I hadn't heard it in quite some time. But the most recent time, prior to last night that I heard it, was we had a family reunion a number of years back. And I had told my siblings the story of the night my mom passed, when I got in the car and the song Dust in the Wind was on. I hadn't really shared that with people for whatever reason, but we were all together and we were talking about my mom, and I shared that story with them. And the next morning we were in North Carolina, and I had rented a car, and the only car they had when I got there was this huge red pickup truck. So I'm driving, you know, in the half dark, 5:30 in the morning in North Carolina in this ridiculous, oversized, bright red pickup truck back to the airport. And if you've ever been to the airport in Wilmington, North Carolina, you know that it's quite small. You know, you could blink and miss it. But just so that, you know, this is now 6 o'clock in the morning on some station that I had never listened to before. And as I'm pulling into the lot to drop off this rental truck, what song comes on the radio but Dust in the Wind? And literally, as I pulled into the parking lot and was just sitting there for the last moment before I, you know, put it in park and turned the key, and the song ended. And I sort of laughed and said, "Thank you, Mom." It was sort of like she was saying, okay, I was at this family reunion after all, and I know you guys were talking about me, and I'm going to play this song for you just so that, you know, just to confirm that for you. And that had to have been, I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And then last night, this lovely trio of young people sang this song, and as soon as I heard the first note, the tears started, right? And I was, you know, sitting here just crying, listening to the song, really sobbing, not just crying. I mean, I was, you know, doing the heaving and the whole thing, and really missing my mother in a way that I have really not remembered missing her in a very, very long time. You know, I was 22 when my mom passed, and like I said, it was 43 and a half years ago, and I'm 66 now, so I've lived 2/3 of my life without my mother. And as it turns out, yesterday I had several conversations with clients about their mothers, not their mother's passing, but just about mothers in general. And so sort of the issue of mothers was up, and then I was in this funky mood, and then I heard the song that played on the radio the night my mom passed away. And I went to bed thinking, why is this all coming up right now? And I woke up sort of in the middle of the night realizing, oh my God, I think it's my mother's birthday. And for some reason, it was very jumbled in my mind. I couldn't remember the specific day. And I woke up and I tried to find it somewhere, like on my birth certificate or whatever. And I couldn't find it, but I was still really quite out of sorts. I had several dreams during the night where my mother was involved. And I ended up texting my sister this morning and I said, what was what's mom's actual date of birth? I knew the month, I knew the year. I just was confused. And she wrote back and she said, it's today. And I thought, okay, that explains a lot of things. So anyway, back to this idea of how much we hold in our subconscious that can affect our mood, our emotions, the thoughts that we're having, the dreams that we're having, in this case, the music perhaps that we might be attracting into our life. And I remembered a number of years ago, I wrote a blog about this. I had a very similar experience several years after my brother died. Woke up one day just completely out of sorts, wasn't sure what was happening, started to do some tapping, just, I'm out of sorts and I don't know why. And all of a sudden the tears came and I remembered that it was my brother's birthday. So I'm not sure why the birthdays, I think I'm more aware of the days that they made their transition and not always so conscious of the birthday as I just go through my day-to-day life. So this whole long story, explanation is sort of why I was feeling a need to connect today. And I thought, what a beautiful way to jump on and, have a little bit of time with whoever shows up, even though, we're not face to face. And I look forward to the day when there can be more of that again. But just to share energy and to go through this beautiful process together, this heart brain coherence process, because not only is it individually alchemical, it literally shifts the chemistry in our body, and I'll talk about that after we do it and explain it in a little more detail. But also because we know that as we shift and raise our own vibration, as we do our own healing, we are actually contributing to shifting the vibration and healing the energy on the planet. And if there has ever been a time for us to be conscious and intentional about raising our own vibration and contributing to raising the vibration on the planet, in my opinion, now we're in it, right? We're in the thick of it. So whatever we can do to do the healing, do the clearing, raise our vibration, send that energy out into the world, and, just show up shining our lights brighter and supporting this shift in consciousness. So with that intention, let's go into the heart brain coherence. Again, some of you may have done this with me before, but it's very simple. When it actually only has to be about 3 minutes. I may lengthen it a little because we do have some time tonight. And so we may sit in it a little bit longer, but it probably won't be more than 5 minutes. And then I'll spend, as I said, a little bit of time on the back end, talking a little more about the science of it. And as I like to do whenever I do these Facebook Lives, which I know I have not been doing very many recently, but if I have my tingshaws around, whenever I do these or, sessions with clients, meditations, or I like to just create a space to do that with the tingshaws. I like the sound that sort of creates a separation, like everything that we were doing before. Right now, we're going to focus gently here, right? And the vibration and the frequency of the tingshaws also sort of brings our nervous systems into alignment. So I find it just a really calming, gentle way to bring our focus inward, to align our energy bodies as we move into this very gentle practice. So welcome to my tingshaws. The heart is considered the emperor. Lovely. Thanks, Christine. All right, so I'll just invite you, if you're not already sitting with your feet flat on the floor, to go ahead and do that as I get comfy in my seat. Go ahead and put your feet flat on the floor. And I'll also invite you to bring one or both hands gently to your heart, whatever feels comfortable. And then when you're ready, you can just allow your eyes to float closed, gently lowered or closed, whatever feels comfortable. Again, just allowing this beautiful sound and vibration of the tingshaws to clear the energy in the space you're in, to mark a separation in time-space, create a sacred container. And to bring your focus fully present. And with feet on the floor, hands gently over your heart, and your eyes closed, I'll invite you to bring your awareness to your breath. Just noticing the inhalation and the exhalation. With the gentle pressure of your hands on your heart, you may find it easier to drop your awareness from your head into your heart. Perhaps even imagining that your breath is flowing in and out through your heart. Breathing in and breathing out. Imagining the gentle wave coming up onto the shore with the inhalation. And then gently being pulled back into the ocean on the exhalation. Breathing in and breathing out. And now taking the opportunity to slow the breath even a little further by stretching your inhalation out to the count of 6 seconds. Taking a moment of stillness and then allowing 6 seconds for the exhalation. Inhaling and exhaling. And as you stay with this gentle flow of breath, I'm going to bring some words, some high vibration words in like a mantra. And you can repeat these to yourself in your own mind, or you can just listen, whatever feels most comfortable, most intuitive to you. Appreciation, compassion, gratitude, joy, freedom, love. Appreciation, compassion, gratitude, joy, freedom, and love. And these words continue to reverberate in your mind. I'd like you to imagine that every one of your, 7 billion cells is beginning to soak in, to really drink in the healing and nurturing energy of these words. Like those little dried up sponges, right? We would play with our children and put them in the water and watch them expand. Just imagine each one of your cells expanding with the healing, with the peace, with the calmness of these high vibration words. Allowing the sound of the actual word and the frequency associated with those words continue to move in and around and through all of your bodies, your mental body, your emotional body, spiritual body, and physical body. Healing, nurturing, and renewing. And just taking a couple more moments now with the breath, with the vibration, with the gratitude and the love, the appreciation and the compassion, the joy and the freedom. Circulating all around, in and through every cell of your body. And then you can gently relax your hands back into your lap. Perhaps bring some small movement into your fingers or toes. Larger movement, a stretch or a yawn. And then gently allow your eyes to float open on the wave of the breath. Just taking a few moments to look around your space, to let your eyes land on a few objects, to bring yourself all the way back. And that, my friends, is my slightly altered, but pretty much the way it's taught, the Heart Brain Coherence exercise, taught by the Heart Math Institute. I think even Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden also teach their own version or a very similar technique. But I want to shout out my thanks to the Heart Math Institute for all that they do. And I also want to take just a couple more minutes here together to talk about the power of this, what could really be simply, thanks Dee, a 3-minute exercise. So if you noticed in the beginning, we closed our eyes, we placed our hands over our heart, and we began to focus on our breath. So what we did was basically send a message to our brain that it was okay to go into the parasympathetic or the relaxed state of mind. Because typically, if there's something to be aware of or afraid of, our eyes are wide open, our heart is racing, and our breath is shallow. So when we introduce the opposite elements, closed eyes, relaxed heart, deeper breath, we're literally sending the message to the amygdala, right? The part of the brain that's always searching for what's out there, what do I need to be concerned about, that it can relax. So that was the first part, and it's really, the relaxation part. Where we supercharge it, if you will, is when we start to bring in the words. And, there's different words that you can use, but these are typically among the words that are used: appreciation, gratitude, compassion, care, freedom, love, joy. And if you're familiar with the emotional guidance scale from Abraham Hicks, you will recognize these as the higher vibrating emotions, right? Emotion, energies in motion. So we are not only giving our body the message to relax, but by bringing those words in, we're sort of turning up the relaxation dial so that we can begin to change the chemistry that's running through our body. So it helps us to switch from the adrenaline and the cortisol and any other chemicals that are associated with that fight or flight response, the anxiety response, that sympathetic nervous system where so many of us are in default all of the time, which is sort of wearing us all out because we're not supposed to be there all the time. It's only, supposed to be there when we really need to, when there's a real threat or danger presented to us. But there's so much going on in life. There's so many stressors. We have so much, of our own internalized trauma that many of us are in that sympathetic nervous system as our default mode. So this really helps flip that switch by bringing in these higher vibrating words. And when we say them a few times and we imagine the cells absorbing them, it begins to change the chemistry in our body. So now we have more of the serotonin or the dopamine or whatever the other, maybe the nurses out there know this better than I do. I'll tell you in a minute, Dee. So it literally changes our brain chemistry. And not only does it change the chemistry that's running through our body, when we change the chemistry, we start to bring healing to our cells and to our DNA that have been worn down from the constant adrenaline and cortisol running through our system. There are, on our strands of DNA, like shoelaces, those little end caps, those little plastic things on our shoelaces. Well, we have sort of something similar, physiological end cap, if you will, on our strands of DNA. And when we have too much cortisol and adrenaline, we have too much stress, it's like the plastic starting to break away, right? And then you can't get the shoelace through the hole anymore, right? So the end caps, the telomeres, start to break apart, start to fray, if you will, and it allows disease and aging to sort of set in. So when we change the chemistry, it's not only helping us emotionally or mentally, it's actually helping us physically because it is bringing a type of chemistry through the body that's healing and nurturing and helps to renew what has been sort of torn down from the adrenaline and the cortisol. Here's the most amazing part as far as I'm concerned. If you do this exercise, this lovely little exercise for 3 minutes, this switch in chemistry will continue for 6 hours. right? Let me hear an amen. 3 minutes of exercise, 6 hours of different chemistry running through your body to keep you calmer, keep you feeling more peaceful, more balanced, and to heal, literally heal you on a cellular level. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a return. Thanks, Tori. I got an amen. That's a return, and Janice, on your investment, that's really hard to beat. 3 minutes, 6 hours, I'll take it. So if you did this 3 times a day, less than 10 minutes, if you did it in the morning, if you found some time in the middle of your day, and maybe some time, before you went to bed, you would literally have almost 24-hour coverage, right? Counting when you're sleeping, hopefully your stress levels go down. And if you imagine the impact of that over time, reducing the stress in the immediate sense, and then bringing in this healing energy over the long term, imagine how different things might be in 3 months or 6 months or a year from now. So do you ask the other words: appreciation, gratitude, joy, love, compassion, care? I also put in freedom. When I first learned this, it was gratitude, appreciation, care, and compassion. And then I've heard it, I've heard other words used. So I basically when you look at the emotional guidance scale, you'll see 6 or 7 words right at the top: gratitude, appreciation, joy, love, freedom, compassion. Care is not really in the list, but care is one of the words that is recommended from the Heart Math Institute. So what are the chimes needed for? Well, they aren't needed. I just like them. I love sound healing. And instead of bringing out the bowl all the time, because that sound, not everybody loves the sound of the bowl, I just bring the chimes, and they have their own vibrational frequency. There's many different metals. These chimes are, prayed over when they're made, and so they're sacred in and of themselves. But Janice, if you imagine, like if you had kidney stones, they might use some kind of laser to go in and, right, break them up. Yeah, D, they help shift. So if you imagine the vibrational frequency, the high vibration of these, sound and light and energy, they can move through your system and break up blockages in your energy. And as Dee says, they help us, they help me shift too. They sort of they help me come into a state of coherence, which is what the whole point of this exercise is. So it feels like it creates sacred space. It acts like a little laser gun, breaking up any blocked or clogged energy, and it helps align my nervous system. That would be my explanation about the tingshaws. So you're welcome. So I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed sharing it with you. I actually feel so much better than I was feeling just before I got on. So I appreciate you coming and supporting me, even though you didn't know you were going to be doing that. I appreciate it. If you have not seen my TED Talk, I actually talk about this. As I said, I do the Heart Brain Coherence exercise in my TED Talk, a slightly scaled down version. So you're welcome to watch my TED Talk if you want to see it integrated into some other content. Or I also have like a 14 or 15 minute YouTube video that I made back in the day when I still had red hair. So it goes going back a few years, but it explains the science of it again. So if you can certainly listen to this again, but you have those 2 other resources as well. You have the TEDx talk, and you have my YouTube video on the Heart Brain Coherence. And if anybody's interested, when we're done here, I can put the links for those under the video. Yeah, your brain was running laps. I like that. I don't know if I've ever seen that, heard that exactly that way before, but yes, I can appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, Janice, I am blessed that as I let my hair go back to its natural color, it's not bad. So any other questions? Anything I can answer for you before we wrap up our time together? Bring them on camera. Oh no, is that the camera? Oh, that's telling me to bring you on camera. I thought somebody was asking me to bring the Tingshaws on camera. So there they are. All right, my beautiful friends, I'm about to get on a healing call. Oh, I'm a couple of minutes late. So I'm going to go and jump on the healing call at 7 o'clock that I'm signed up for. So mwah, thank you again for sharing your time with me. Many, many, many blessings and joy, gratitude, appreciation, care, compassion, freedom, and love to all of you. Good night now. Yeah, Dee, my feeling is any personal work we do is also supporting the collective, right? Every time we can raise our own vibration, we're supporting the raising of the collective. So, all right, good night, everybody. See you soon again. Bye.